What's up guys, today I'm going to be going over 20 different supplier secrets that I wish I knew. These are sourcing terms, terminology, stuff like that can be quite confusing, but stuff you want to know for your business, stuff you want to be able to relate to when your supplier brings it up. And the goal of this video is to define these terms so that you understand them and you can take them from today's video and start benefiting your business with them. Number one is gold suppliers. You've probably heard a lot about gold suppliers on Alibaba, but gold suppliers actually have paid accounts with Alibaba. They don't have any special verification per se. They just have paid accounts. Kind of similar, like you can have a paid selling plan with Amazon, which would make you a professional seller. It's a little bit like that. But gold suppliers on Alibaba do have the benefit of being able to have on-site checks performed, because they know if I have those on-site checks performed, it's going to increase my customer trust and I'm probably going to close more orders. Now that said, they have the ability to have those on-site checks done, but it doesn't mean that they by default always have them done. The second big thing is that a gold supplier is going to have access to trade assurance. They're going to be able to offer you, their customer, trade assurance payments. So you're going to be able to take advantage of trade assurance, which is something I highly recommend because it's going to give you a bit of a safety net, especially when dealing with suppliers for the first time. So for that reason, you pretty much only want to be looking at a gold supplier or above, which I'll get to in a second. Now, if we look on Alibaba here and we're just looking at wood carving kits, but you can see gold suppliers by this icon over here. Anytime you see this icon, that is a gold supplier. Then you can see a number of years next to that icon, and that represents for how many years have they been a gold supplier. And obviously the more, the better. And on to number two, which is verified suppliers. Now verified suppliers are actually gold suppliers, but it's one step ahead or above gold suppliers, because verified suppliers have actually had those on-site checks done at their facilities. And this is also why if you either are going to see a gold icon if it's a gold supplier, or a verified badge if it's a verified gold supplier, you're not going to see the verified badge and the gold supplier badge. They don't occur together because verified is like a step above a gold supplier. Now the benefit to you if you go with a verified supplier is that you can have confidence in certain things listed on Alibaba. For example, the business type. Remember that supplier had an on-site check. So if it's primarily a commercial space there, then it's usually going to be listed on Alibaba as a trading company, as you can see up here. And what that means is they're buying goods and reselling them to you. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with sourcing from trading companies. They're usually great business partners. A lot of people make a big thing about this, like you can't go with a trading company, you have to go with a manufacturer. Both are really good. It just depends what type of product you're building. And if you really are making a lot of customizations, then you might want to go with a manufacturer. And as we touched on there, that leads us to the next business type you might see on Alibaba, which is manufacturer. Remember, in that on-site check, if they find mainly this is an industrial space where they're actually manufacturing, they have machinery working on producing this product, then it's going to be listed as a manufacturer. And that means they're actually making the goods that they're selling to you. Now remember, any non-verified supplier can also just put manufacturer in there if they wish. The benefit of a verified supplier is that that's actually being checked, so you can have confidence in it. The second big thing here is that this will actually give you the ability to check those reports from those on-site checks. And here's how you can check. So we're on Alibaba here. We've just gone into a verified supplier's listing, and then we can click on their company name over here. And once we do that, we can simply scroll down their listing, and there's going to be a section here called company introduction or company information, as you can see over here. Here we can actually see the verified documents, so we can see the on-site checks, and you're able to actually download these. Sometimes there's even video. There's actually a video of the inspection, which you can also view. But this is how you can actually do your due diligence on the actual company that you're about to partner with. And if you only want to see gold and verified suppliers while you search, then you can see on Alibaba at the top here, you can actually click one of these, trade assurance or verified. Remember, they're only going to have trade assurance if they're a gold supplier. So you can tick that to find gold, and you can tick this if you want those fully verified suppliers. So either of those is going to filter out the suppliers you find. And number 3 is MOQ. Now MOQ stands for minimum order quantity, but it's often misused by a lot of us in this industry. Often sellers will say things like, oh, I'm getting an MOQ of 500, I'm getting an MOQ of 1,000, but actually they should just be saying I'm getting an OQ of 500, an order quantity, because a minimum order quantity is a little bit different. Every supplier is going to have an MOQ, and that is the minimum amount that a customer is able to place an order for it to make financial sense for the supplier. So some might have an MOQ of 250. Only if you order 250 will we actually take in your order and produce those goods for you. Suppliers will often also have a different MOQ for customized orders. So if you want to, for example, put your brand name on every single product, that MOQ might go a little higher. They might say, hey, our MOQ is 500 for OEM, which is something we'll explain in a moment. But they're doing that because they have to set up and invest resources in a new production line for you, in tooling, in organizing that new production, so that MOQ goes a bit up. It makes it worth their time. Remember, suppliers want to deal in quantity. It's just more profitable. So that's what MOQs actually are, but this term is often misused just to define like any quantity of goods. And number 4, as we mentioned, is OEM. And OEM stands for Original Equipment Manufacturer. And an OEM is a company that produces a product which it sells to its buyers, that's us, and then those buyers sell to end consumers under their own name. So the buyers, us, we sell to the end customers under our own brand name. So in effect, all of our suppliers are in fact OEMs, but that's what an OEM actually is. But again, this term is often misused in our industry. You'll often hear sellers or even suppliers say things like, do you do OEM, or do you want OEM? Or you might ask your supplier, can you do OEM for me? And that really translates into, can you put my brand name on that product? So that's how it's often misused if you ever see that. But an OEM is actually a type of company. And number 5 is purchase order, or PO. Now a purchase order is actually a legally binding document. It's going to cover specifics about the actual product, the quantity of products you're ordering, the cost per unit, as well as the overall cost. Also the payment terms, like how much to pay in the beginning and at the end, and even sometimes shipping details if you've agreed on that with the supplier. All of that is going to be in your purchase order, and you can find all of these details and all the specifics here on Alibaba. And number 6 is to click the like button. Number 7, this is EXW. Now EXW is actually an Incoterm, and it stands for X Works. As we just discussed on purchase orders, etc., your supplier can quote you in different ways, and it's usually based on Incoterms, which stands for International Commercial Terms. One of them is EXW, X Works, and this one is when the supplier quotes you for all the manufacturing of the product and making that product ready at their location for pickup by the freight forwarder. It doesn't include loading those products onto a truck or ship. It doesn't include any shipping at all, just manufacturing and making it ready for pickup. So if you are quoted under that Incoterm, remember you are going to have to organize the loading and shipping of those goods. And number 8 is DDP. This is delivered duty paid, another Incoterm, but this one is at the opposite end of the spectrum. Here, what the supplier quotes you includes the manufacturing as well as all the shipping, logistics, duties, fees of getting those goods to the designated location, the named location you have given them. So they are responsible for absolutely everything. The one thing they're not responsible for is ensuring those goods for the main carriage. However, you are at no risk until those goods hit the destination that you named, and that's probably going to be the Amazon fulfillment center. Now this is the best Incoterm in my opinion, especially when starting, especially if your supplier has a partnered freight forwarder. This is going to be a very hassle-free way of getting your goods to Amazon. Just make sure you ask them for DDP and double check that the duties are going to be paid. Number 9 is Chinese New Year, or CNY. Now one of the times you're not going to want to place an order is straight after CNY. This is when a lot of sellers bombard suppliers to get orders in because there's been 2 weeks where nothing has happened, or where they've heard so much about how there's no supply coming out of China. So it creates a bit of stress and a bit of panic in terms of ordering straight after Chinese New Year. So you want to avoid that. So then what exactly is Chinese New Year? When does it happen and for how long? Well, it actually begins on Chinese New Year's Eve each year, and then it lasts until the Lantern Festival, which is on the 15th day of that year. And the first day of Chinese New Year begins on the new moon anywhere between 21 January and 20 February. Next year, 2021, it's going to be on Friday, the 12th of February. So that's when this 15-day period is going to begin. And it's actually the year of the ox. So if your year of birth is mentioned here, then it's your year. So during CNY, you are not going to be able to place an order, and also your supplier is not going to be working on orders. So that's something you do want to consider, even for those who maybe place 1 or 2 months before. If it's going to hit CNY, there's going to be a big delay. The second thing is you do not want to be ordering after CNY. So if you have an order to place, or you would have placed it a month or 2 after CNY, I really recommend placing that order even with initial payment before CNY, because what happens is you then get to the front of the line in front of everyone who kind of panic orders straight after CNY. Number 10 is RFQ, and this stands for Request for Quotation. So what if you just cannot find what you're looking for on Alibaba? Well, you can also use Alibaba to draft an RFQ, and it's an invitation to suppliers to quote you on an order that you require. And if a lot of suppliers can actually fulfill your order, it's kind of going to be like an auction where they're going to bid on it. They're going to try give you the best cost possible. But this is a really useful feature if you just cannot find what you're looking for or find an adequate supplier. And this is where you can do it in Alibaba. You're simply going to click on My Alibaba and then Submit RFQ. And number 11 is Proforma invoices and commercial invoices, or PIs and CIs. Now, once all your terms are agreed, a supplier is usually going to send you what's called a PI, a Proforma invoice. Now, this is the most common invoice type for Chinese suppliers, and it's going to detail the entire order. But how it's seen officially is a speculation, a best guess of what the costs are going to be for this order before it's fulfilled. Now, in my experience, it's hardly ever speculation. It's pretty much 100% accurate. They'll quote you and then that's what you will pay. But in official terms, it's seen as a speculative document. So that's going to be important in a moment. Now, Proforma invoices and commercial invoices often represent the exact same information, but they're seen differently in legal terms or official terms, with a commercial invoice being seen as an accurate and real representation of that order. Now, this is also why if Amazon ever asks you for an invoice, do not waste your time sending them a PI, a Proforma invoice. They will not accept that. They will only accept a commercial invoice. So if you do get asked, you can ask your supplier for a commercial invoice, or what you can do is you can generate a commercial invoice online using your exact Proforma invoice details that are accurate, and I'll link an invoice generator below for you as well. And number 12 is trade assurance, or TA. Now, you're going to need to pay the supplier the initial payment before they start manufacturing your goods, and for this, Alibaba has a very cool system called trade assurance, and this is something you want to ensure your supplier offers. It's basically a system in which you can create and agree to purchase orders with suppliers. This also acts as like an intermediary where you can pay the supplier based on the payment terms that are specified, and then those funds are going to be held in escrow until the obligations of the supplier are fulfilled, and then those funds are released. So in a way, it protects both parties. And again, here on Alibaba, if you only want to see suppliers with trade assurance, you can tick this little box here and it's going to filter these results for you. And number 13, this is wire transfer. Now within trade assurance, there's a couple payment methods that you can choose from, and one of them is wire transfer. And this is actually pretty simple. It's really just the method of transferring funds to your supplier using normal bank accounts. It's probably going to be international payments, but that is the system you're using. It's definitely a preferable way to pay suppliers because the fees are going to be so much lower. So if you're doing big orders, larger amounts of money, you definitely want to be going with this, something like wire transfer. You do not want to be going with credit card purchases. And number 14, this is FNSKU. Now that manufacturing's actually underway with the supplier, there's a couple things you're going to want to send them. One of them is the FNSKU, and that stands for Fulfillment Network Stock Keeping Unit. This is a label that you're going to want to download from Amazon. You can download it from your listing. I'll actually put a video up here for any of you wanting to know more about shipping labels and shipping plans, but you're going to download it from Amazon and you're going to send it to the supplier, and that supplier is going to want to affix that label to each individual unit. So say you have 500 wood carving kits, every single one of them is going to be labeled with the same FNSKU. And number 15, this is cartons and cases. So when manufacturing is complete, your supplier is going to begin packing your shipment. Now cartons are the big cardboard boxes that hold your individual units. Master cartons are like even bigger cardboard boxes that hold cartons inside them. But just a note on that, Amazon prefers single cartons. They don't like big master cartons. Now cases are simply just cartons. They're also the same thing, cardboard box holding your units, but within that carton is the exact same number of units, and all those units are the exact same type of product. That is then called a case rather than a carton. And why that's important is if you do create cases, same number of same units every box, you can then complete a case packed shipping plan on Amazon. That's going to make receiving your inventory at the warehouse a lot faster. And number 16, this is bill of lading, BOL. At some point your inventory is actually going to be passed over to a cargo carrier, and that's when you or your supplier, depending on who's managing the shipping, is going to actually receive a BOL, a bill of lading. And this is simply a contract that the cargo carrier is going to create to confirm receipt of your goods. We have your goods on board and we're going to be transporting it to your specified location and to that designated recipient. Sometimes they're going to call that your co-signee. And number 17 and related is a Waybill, also called an airway bill. Now if you're shipping by air, then this one's important. It is a bill of lading, but it's specifically issued by an airline. So this again is going to confirm receipt of your goods on board, but it also certifies that that inventory being transported complies with International Air Transport Authority standards, or IATA standards. Number 18, FCL and LCL. So ocean freight is definitely the most efficient way of shipping your goods. Your profit margin is going to expand a lot, and this is what I recommend. But it's not only the mode of transport that matters, it also matters how you pack that shipment. Now FCL stands for full container load, and it refers to a single delivery of goods that completely fills a container. And if you can't ship FCL, you're going to see massive cost savings. And the reason why is certain activities don't have to be undertaken. Things like consolidating your shipment with all other people's shipments to actually fill that container before before it's shipped, and also bulk breaking when it gets to the destination so that we can remove all these different shipments from the container. All of those things don't have to actually happen, so it saves cost on that front, but full container loads usually save a huge amount of cost per unit. Even just filling a container about 70% is going to be much cheaper if you buy that full container. Even though there's 30% free space, that's going to be cheaper than consolidating that same shipment in a container with other people's shipments. So there are definitely cost advantages to FCL, but of course that's a lot of inventory. So you're going to want to ask your supplier how many units will fill a 20-foot container. Now LCL on the other hand stands for less than container load, and that refers to a single delivery of goods which does not completely fill the container. This is how most shipments are going to happen. It's definitely how you're going to ship in the very beginning, and this of course is a little bit more expensive per unit because those activities mentioned before have to actually happen. And number 19, this is FTL and LTL. Now it's not only that main leg of freight we just spoke about that's important, it's also the beginning leg and the very end leg, and those are usually done by truck. Now FTL stands for full truckload, and that's the amount of inventory required to fully fill a truck in terms of cubic meters or cubic feet. And similarly to before, when you do manage to do FTL, you're going to get special FTL rates, so it's going to be a lot cheaper for you. On the other hand, LTL is less than truckload, and this is when you cannot fill the entire truck, and of course again you're not going to get those special FTL rates. And number 20 is 3PL, or third party logistics, and this is anytime you use a third party business to outsource your transport, warehousing, or fulfillment. So Amazon sellers are actually called third party sellers, and that's because they are using Amazon's 3PL, which is FBA, fulfillment by Amazon. And please let me know in the comments which one of these was new to you, or which one did you learn the most from. If you enjoyed this session, please drop this video a quick like for me, really appreciate that, and subscribe below if you are not. Also hit those bell notifications, that way you're never gonna miss an upload. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.